we take our work seriously, but we don't take ourselves too seriously. We have our company wine tour this week. So I'm trying to do things like that to build an internal culture of people who will care about others like their family, who want to do good work in this community, not just show up for a job, but like do good work that is meaningful and has an impact. And that's our North Star. And that's worked for me for, 11 years now.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Good News York. My name is Noah Chrysler. Today, I am sitting with Anthony Marrone. Anthony, welcome to the show.
How are you?
Not too bad. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm Anthony Marrone. I'm the owner and founder of the Marrone Law Firm. We do estate planning, elder law, anything that relates to aging. We try to be your one-stop shop to help with all things related to aging. It's a difficult issue. Maybe we can have some fun talking about it today, but I know a lot of people don't love talking about it. And I'm a lawyer by day, dad by night, and happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Welcome to the show. How many kids you got?
Three boys.
3 boys. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Cool. Why do you think people don't like talking about estate planning?
You know, it kind of brings into question dying and getting older, which is something that we don't talk a lot about or think a lot about or want to think a lot about in this country. So we try to kind of make it approachable for people, keep it as lighthearted as possible. But for a lot of folks that come to see me, they're dealing with the hardest thing in their lives right now, either facing getting older or a loved one's getting older, or maybe they have a parent or grandparent moving into a nursing home because we do a lot of help with that transition. So it's difficult stuff to talk about, not the most fun you'll ever have in an hour session. And I think a lot of people are, maybe intimidated by lawyers and kind of we have a reputation. And so we try to do a lot of work to kind of demystify that and make it approachable for people.
Yeah. Anthony, the vibes that you give off are not that that lawyer that's gonna lie to me and steal all my money. It seems like your vibes are very different.
Try not to. Yeah.
I don't know. Cool.
I always say that what has made me the lawyer that I am today was first being a husband and then being a father, and so I bring that with me every day. I don't think you could do this kind of work, which is really intimate and deals with family details, without being a person with a family background, whether it's good or bad. A lot of people. I come from a crazy Italian family, so we've got a lot of crazy stories in the hopper. But building a strong relationship with my wife and then being a dad to 3 boys has kind of helped me bring that energy and bring that empathy to every meeting that I have with somebody.
Wonderful, wonderful. Why should people consider estate planning? Why should they get an estate plan?
I think it's essential if you're an adult and you have kids or you have any assets like a house. It is the only way that you have some control after you're no longer here about who's going to get your stuff, what it's going to look like, who's going to be in charge. So if you want to have any say, getting a simple estate plan done is essential. It's pretty easy. During COVID, when we were forced to stay home, our team built an online tool to kind of help people go through with 8 easy questions, just in plain English. They answer those questions. Then we have 1 or 2 meetings and get it done pretty quickly and easily. So we tried to kind of make it very simple. And so that was one good thing that came out of the pandemic was we were able to use automation and use AI really before AI was prevalent and kind of automate a lot of that and make it simpler for people.
Cool. Wonderful. Where can people find that tool?
So that's at thewillbuilder.com. That was kind of the tool we came up with during COVID. Or they can go to our website, themarronelawfirm.com, and launch off from there.
Beautiful. Very cool. Wonderful. And in just 8 questions, I can basically generate a
Your
decent
entire estate plan.
Wow. Yeah. How nice.
And then we'll, the way we do it is I have folks answer those questions. They don't necessarily know that they're building their estate plan. They're just answering 8 questions on a questionnaire. Mm-hmm. And then we'll sit with them. It generates the documents for me. And then I can sit and customize them with the client depending on their specific needs or wishes or goals.
Beautiful. So you not only get the automated thing, but you get to sit with an attorney and you get to be hey, this is exactly what I want to happen. And then you make it turnkey, I would expect.
Yeah, we try to. One of the things is there is competition in the marketplace, right? With LegalZoom and AI now kind of in the forefront of everybody's mind. So we're competing against those commodities. So what I have to offer is my expertise sitting with me to kind of guide you through it. Anybody can generate a document or download a document from the internet, but knowing how all the provisions work together and where something may come back to bite somebody given a particular situation is, I think, how kind of broader picture how lawyers can differentiate themselves in the age of AI.
For sure.
Now. Yeah.
For sure, especially when, I don't know, if I have real assets and I am estate planning. Like, I don't want, AI to write I want a human being who has done this for years to like determine and work with the courts to make sure that my family gets my stuff properly.
And one of the most important things, even if you don't have a lot of money, right? Because it's not, people hear estate planning and they think they've got to be super wealthy. One of the things I like to tell people or teach people is when you have little kids, the only way you have any say what happens with them if you pass away before they're adults is in your will. So that's the only place a parent has any control over who will take the kids, who would become guardian if both parents, pass away, unfortunately. And it does happen. I mean, you hate that it's not the rule. It's it's the exception, but that's the only place you have any say. So for people with young kids, it's even if you have no money, right? You've got a mortgage, you just bought a house, you got car loans, right? Student loans. The money part's not the important part. It's what would happen to my kids, who would take care of them.
Yeah. Okay. Paint for me two pictures, right? Paint for me a picture where somebody has an estate plan and everything works out the way you want it to. Yeah. And then paint for me the other picture of like, somebody dies without an estate plan. What happens in the state of New York?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So when you die without a will, it's called intestacy, without a will. It's like from the old Latin. And it could be the Wild West. I mean, that's where lawyers like me make a lot of money, is when people who die without a will, or maybe did a will on their own and messed it up, didn't do it with all the specifications, because there's a certain way it has to be signed and notarized and witnessed. So it can be very expensive and time consuming on that front, and uncertainty, right? The law will say if you die without a will, here's who gets your stuff. And it may not be who you want. If you have kids and a spouse, and you don't have a will, the law says your spouse gets 50%, the kids get the other 50%. And that may not be what most people want. In my experience, most people want everything to go to their spouse first. And then when both spouses are gone, they want it to go to the kids. So the law is a little different than probably what I would consider the default. If you have no kids, it gets even messier. It goes to your parents first, then siblings, and then out from there on the family tree. So not having a will, which is, we're talking a few $100 to do a will. Our a comprehensive estate planning package is less than $2,000. And we try to give payment plans, credit cards to make it easier and approachable for people. We do a Black Friday sale that cuts the price basically in half on Black Friday to try to get more people to do this. Less than 1/3 of people have a will in this country. Yeah.
Really? I didn't know that.
So you're leaving it a lot to chance, and you're leaving it a lot in the hands of people like me who do this work after the fact to fight about it. And I don't get any joy. I don't derive any joy in fighting about somebody's estate when they haven't signed a will, but it can be really messy. Really
For sure. Cool. So that was kind of the negative picture if they die without a will. What's the positive picture? If I have a good estate plan, what happens?
I always say, like, people don't come and pay me money when it goes great and everything's fixed and they don't need me. You know what I mean? So we do the planning up front, and the idea is with your will, after you pass away, the person that you pick to be in charge of your estate gets a certificate from the court that we help them get. They can access your money, pay all your bills, and then transfer all your money after a few months to whoever you wanted it to go to. And that's it. So, it's pretty streamlined and straightforward when you have a good plan in order. And like I say, people don't come and want to pay their lawyer to be like, hey, you did a great job. This went so good. Let me tell you how easy it was. So we don't even hear, I only hear the bad stuff. When it goes well, it's like you don't hear about it from the client until after it's done, and then it's done.
Yeah.
So clean and easy. Just having a plan in place makes it a lot better.
Cool.
For sure.
Anthony, tell me about you. Tell me about your story. Did you always want to become a lawyer? Did you always want to become a estate planning lawyer? Did you find it along the way? Let's hear about it.
I think every little boy dreams of becoming an estate and elder law attorney when they grow up, right? That's like the number one thing on some
days. Right.
I'll say we had in 5th grade, I went to city schools here in the city of Syracuse, and we had an assistant district attorney come in multiple times and kind of teach us about that part of the law. And my mom recently found like drawings I did showing that I was going to go to law school that I drew in 5th grade.
Wow, that's cool.
And I can't say it was always the thing I wanted to do in college. I had a column for the newspaper out in Buffalo.
Cool.
And the newspaper industry started to shift dramatically around that time in the early 2000s. And everything was going online. Newspapers were starting to kind of draw back. And so I decided to go to law school, what they now call KJD, which is straight from kindergarten all the way through law school with no real life job in between. But yeah, I went to college in Buffalo, met my wife, moved back here, went to SU for law school, local boy.
Nice.
Yeah. Love the area, committed to the area. We put our office in downtown on purpose. because I believe deeply, even though they're going to start tearing down the highway about a block from where we are.
Yeah.
Very
Good
soon.
luck. You know what? You can have it. We got it for a long time. It's been a nightmare for
now.
2 months.
Yeah.
You can have it. Good luck.
It is. We're bracing ourselves. It's kind of, like I live in DeWitt, so the way I would come into work has already been messy.
Yeah.
At that 481, but I'm committed to the area. I believe in the community grid. I believe in this community. I think we're on the precipice of doing really great things and big things here. So it's been important to me to have the business, especially being in the city. I've just been really happy with how it's gone. Downtown's gone through a lot, even in the time we've been down here since 2017, with the pandemic hitting and kind of the shift in the demographics downtown and people not coming back to work or not coming back to the office. But we're committed for the long haul. So yeah.
Wonderful. Is there anything that, if you could put one statement in the minds of Central New Yorkers about estate planning, what would you put in the minds of every Central New Yorker?
The best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The second best time is today. So just because you have not done it, just because you didn't do any planning and it's been, now you're 30, now you're 40, now you're 50, 60, 70, it's never too late. Get your planning in place. A lot of what we also do in addition to planning is helping people as they transition, as they're, older in their 70s and 80s, into nursing homes, into long-term care. And we see the effects of not having a plan on those folks more dramatically. So, doing it now, getting your loved ones to do it now. If you have older parents, asking them if they've done their basic planning, it's just so vital to kind of having the last phase of life be successful and not painful and feeling like kicking yourself because you didn't do what you could have done pretty easily years ago. Sure. I work with a lot of folks that are transitioning into nursing homes and really kind of beating themselves up over not having done some simple things 5-10 years before they moved. So
can you tell me more about that? So how much of your job is, working with, finding care for people and that sort of thing? Is that something
I'd
that you
say
do?
It's half.
Really?
Yeah,
okay, cool.
It's
Interesting.
grown. Dramatically. So really since 2016, 2017, we've kind of moved into that space a lot more. We still do all the basic estate planning, but that part of my business has grown dramatically because it is very difficult to find good care, especially here in Central New York. We don't have a ton of high quality, highly rated nursing homes, assisted living facilities. We have a few good ones, but if you compare us to a big city like Rochester, we actually have about a third of the nursing home beds that the city of Rochester has, and it's not 3 times our size. So we're really in kind of a care desert here. So I've kind of grown into that space, and it's so expensive to pay for long-term care. The average cost of nursing homes in Central New York is approaching $18,000 a month. Wow. Yeah. So, $250,000 a year, which a lot of people just don't have, or if they have it, they might have a year or two saved up. That's it. Right. So we're trying to help, grandma, grandpa, mom, dad, protect what they've got so they can keep it, not go broke in the nursing home, but also find good nursing home care. I just gave an interview last week to the Post-Standard about some of the problems we've had in these facilities here in Syracuse, really bad situations that people are being left in, and the state not really stepping in to do anything about it. So we've got a real crisis on our hands. The baby boomer generation is aging into needing that kind of care. So we're going to have so many people that need that help and just not enough quality places for them to go. It's going to be it is a real issue already, but it's going to continue to get worse. So there's been a call for people like us to kind of step in and help, find the care, get the good care, and then figure out a way to pay for it for the family too. For sure. If somebody can't afford $18,000 a month, what happens at that point? Yeah. So there's a social insurance program called Medicaid, which you may have heard about. Like a lot of people have health insurance through Medicaid. They'll step in and help pay for long-term care for people in nursing homes. You have to have below a certain amount of assets to qualify. So the big part of what we do is help people enroll in that. It's a difficult process to get on. You have to provide 5 years worth of all your bank statements and tax returns, and they're looking to make sure people haven't given money away to qualify for that program. That is the bulk of what we're doing, is helping people enroll in that to pay for it. Got it. So essentially, if you don't want all of your fortune to go away that you've amassed over your entire life, essentially, I'm assuming
logically that if you plan at least 5 years ahead before you might need long-term care and you move your assets to either maybe a trust, probably a trust.
Yep.
Got it. So if you open a trust, which is essentially just like, it's not a person, but it's an entity that you can move
like
assets
a piece of
into.
paper that we create. Yeah.
Got it. And if you do that 5 years before you need long-term care, then you might be able to qualify for Medicaid.
Yeah. Look at you.
Interesting.
You're on. It's like you've done this before. Yeah. So, I mean, most of our clients, it's not the super wealthy people that have to worry about this. All of my clients, I would say, are middle class. They've saved a couple $100,000 in their retirement account. They've got their house. Maybe they paid off their house. That's their biggest asset. So you don't have to be, it's honestly the middle class people who get squeezed the most by this care. Because if you have millions of dollars, well, then paying 18 grand a month, it'll hurt, but it's not going to change your wealth. You know what I mean? But if you've got maybe a house that's worth a couple $100,000 in Camillus, couple $100,000 saved up in a 401k that you worked all your life for, and a little bit of money in the bank, it's gonna hurt.
Yeah,
that
for sure.
18,000 will go quick. So those are the folks that are our kind of main clientele that we're trying to help, kind of work through how we protect with a trust, and there's some other strategies to give them some protection and peace of mind.
Cool. I'm kind of a nerd and I want to know about the other strategies. What are the other strategies?
Well, so if you've not done the trust, right? So for the people that kind of kicking themselves for not doing any planning.
Mm-hmm.
And like I've got a client today, the mom's already in a nursing home. So they kind of can't do the trust now. It's too late because you got to do that 5 years before. Like you said, we can still save half of their money that's outside of a retirement account using what's called a gift and promissory note strategy. So basically think of like a loaf of bread. I can cut the loaf of bread in half, give half the loaf to the kids. That's what's protected. And then we slice up that remaining half of a loaf and we use that to pay the nursing home every month.
Cool.
Yeah, so it gets messy, it gets complicated. We're throwing a lot of numbers at people who maybe don't want a lot of math. So it takes a lot of time through that, especially, it's helpful if people have younger kids or, kids that are in their 50s or 60s to help navigate that. But a lot of my clients don't, or the family's not around. So then we're trying to bring in outside help to kind of also work with them through those transitions. It's a difficult thing. The way I think that we approach and pay for long-term care in this country is broken. This is silly that it exists in this way, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
There's probably a bunch of ways to fix it, but there's just no political motivation, I think, to fix it right now. Certainly, allowing Medicare to pay for most of it would probably help if the government could figure out a way to do that, but they can't. Right. So, I'm just a technician. I always tell people, I did not draw this map. I just know how to navigate it. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So the rules are dumb. We agree, but let me help you kind of work your way around here so that you're not going totally broke in this phase.
Right. Especially, with somebody who's done it 100 times, right? Or thousands of times, I would just imagine.
Yeah, at this point, probably.
Yeah. I mean, that's incredible.
Will tell you. Yeah. It's been probably more than 1,000, I would say.
Wow. Yeah. No, that's incredible. Well, cool. Anthony, I got another question for you. So eventually I'm going to start a show here called Why It Works, right? That's going to be my new show that I'm going to launch soon. And so, I want to talk to business owners very similar to yourself, right? And so I'm trying to figure out how to facilitate those conversations and kind of figure out the questions to ask that get people to, reveal those things and talk about them in an easy way. I guess if you had to take a high level perspective on why your business has been so successful here in the central New York area, why do you think it's been so successful?
Oh, good question. And I love that idea because I'm a big proponent of I want to know how things work. I love inside baseball. I just want to know the nitty gritty, boring stuff. I find it very interesting.
Yeah.
I think what's worked well for me is identifying a group of people that we can service, middle-class families, and talking to them plainly and simply. And I always say, with our staff, I want to treat these people like they're our family. Some of them you love, think of your own family, right? You got the one crazy uncle. I got two Italian family, but I want to get to the point with a lot of these clients where we see them as family members because we want to help them through a difficult phase. So for me, that is what's worked, is carrying that into every meeting because they're not always easy. Think about in life, you're going to confront difficult people. I try to teach my kids this all the time. I've got a 15-year-old. He struggles with his teacher. He's got one teacher driving him crazy. And so we're trying to teach him, you will have bosses like this. You'll have coworkers like this. You'll have friends like this, right? You'll have clients like this, a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to kind of approach it all with just assume that everybody is doing the best that they can. if you carry that with you and you bring that to every meeting, to every court appearance, every, podcast interview, assume that everybody's doing the best that they can, it kind of makes the world a little bit easier to navigate. And so I try to kind of bring that energy, come with that to each client meeting. And, we've tried to be really thoughtful. I've always tried to be really thoughtful in terms of getting myself out there from a marketing perspective. We've been on Facebook since day one. We're still on Facebook, even though it's brutal from a organic marketing perspective now, especially for a service business like ours.
Yeah, your reach gets sliced in half.
I mean, we had 10,000 followers quick, and the reach is brutal if you're not willing to pay to play. And I've always just kind of believed in word of mouth advertising as being our strongest asset, so we try to rely heavily on that. But we're trying to do, fun things. I remember being on Snapchat in 2015 and creating Marrone Law Firm, I don't even know what they were called.
The filters.
Filters.
Nice. Cool. Yeah.
Cool. Back in 2016, I wrote
You're doing estate planning Snapchat filters?
That's right. Yeah,
that's
we were.
amazing.
Yeah.
That's awesome. What were they? Was it like a grave? And the person?
It was just goofy. We would do. So back in the day, we had the Mets. They were the Chiefs. Built a party deck.
Yeah.
We had the first, and I knew the GM. So we had the first party on the party deck, and we did a graphic for that night. We would have a kind of a client appreciation night for a few years every year there. Till
Danny used to work there.
That's right.
Do you know Danny from there?
Well, I know of him from there.
Wonderful. Yeah. Beautiful. Very cool. Very cool.
So we try to do things like that. Got so big, people started showing up that weren't our clients and weren't related to clients because they heard there was a free party on the deck, so we had to shut that down. But, we try to keep it light,
cool.
The work we do is heavy.
Yeah.
And so we take our work seriously, but we don't take ourselves too seriously. We have our company wine tour this week. So I'm trying to do things like that to build an internal culture of people who will care about others like their family, who want to do good work in this community, not just show up for a job, but do good work that is meaningful and has an impact. And that's our North Star. And that's worked for me for, 11 years now. So
I love that. Yeah. So to boil it down, you mentioned communicating with One, you have a target market of central New York families who are middle class, right? And you try to approach and communicate with them as an everyman, right? Because that's who you are, right?
Yeah.
Is one
Dad,
of those
coach. Yeah.
The other thing, it made me think of that quote. Don't attribute to malice what you can attribute to incompetence, right? When you have somebody difficult, right? Don't assume that they're trying their best they can, right? They're just doing their best. So I think dealing with difficult situations, having that as a paradigm that you use in the back of your mind to deal with that. And then the third thing was just creating a good culture with your team and making sure that even though the work is heavy and kind of dark sometimes, you're still creating a fun, positive environment.
That's right. Yeah.
Beautiful.
That's it.
I think that's great.
I hope. It's worked so far. Yeah.
Beautiful. Anthony, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
How can people learn more about your services and potentially use your will creator one more time?
Sure. Head to themarronelawfirm.com. That's the easiest place to find us. If you want to jump right into building your will, you can go to thewillbuilder.com. That's the best place to find me. We're all over social media. Send us a message, send us an email, give us a call.
Beautiful. Guys, thank you so much for watching. This has been Good News York. This is a production put on by Clickstream Studios here in the old Spaghetti Warehouse location. Guys, we just moved in here to celebrate our move-in. We are doing free digital marketing plans for Central New York businesses. If you are posting to social media and you feel like your strategy just isn't there, you don't know what to post, you don't know when to post, you don't know who to post it for, we would love to help you for free. You can go to call.clickstreamstudios.com. You sit down with me for about 30 minutes. I learn everything I can about your business. I help you create a social media strategy, and you can use that on your own, or if you want to, you can use it with us. Guys, also thank you so much to our sponsor, Ads on the Go, getadsonthego.com. And thank you guys for watching. And thank you for Danny behind the camera, cameraman extraordinaire. Have a great day, guys. Bye-bye.